Hello class 7 students, welcome back to the science class. Today we are going to start chapter 7 of your textbook, which is climate and adaptation. Chapter at a glance. Weather, climate, adaptations and climate, weather forecasting, weather affecting the climate of a place. Engage. Identify the animals in the pictures, write the habitat where each is found along with one adaptation that is suited to that habitat. तो इन एनिमल्स के कौन कौन से हैबिटेट हैं और उस हैबिटेट के हिसाब से कौन से अडैप्शंस इन एनिमल ने किए हैं, ये आपको पहचानना है. वेदर. A typical weather report of a particular day is shown here. It provides information about temperature, rainfall, humidity, etc. During the last 24 hours, it also provides forecast for the weather for the day. The short time atmospheric conditions at a particular place and a time with respect to temperature, relative humidity, rainfall, wind speed, etc. is called the weather. At that place, the temperature, humidity, rainfall, wind speed, etc. are called the elements of weather. किसी भी जगह का शॉर्ट टाइम में एटमॉस्फेरिक कंडीशंस जो होती हैं वो वेदर होती हैं. वेदर इज अ कॉम्प्लेक्स फिनोमेनन. इट चेंजेस सडनली ओवर वेरी शॉर्ट पीरियड. The weather may be sunny in the morning, it may get cloudy within an hour or two, or it may rain heavily thereafter. That is why the weather forecasts are not always right. Weather forecasting. Weather को predict करना, weather forecasting होता है. Weather को predict किया जाता है data collect करके, satellite photographs की help से, etc. Weather forecast is based on the data collected by weather balloons, satellite photographs of the cloud formation, etc. Weather forecasting is helpful to people in the following ways. It allows people to prepare for bad weather. It helps in the planning of daily activities. It is helpful for life and property. It helps farmers to plan various agricultural activities. Knowledge basket. The science of the study of weather is meteorology. The professionals who study and record weather are known as meteorologists. Maximum and minimum temperature. The highest temperature recorded during a day is called the maximum temperature and the lowest temperature recorded during the day is called the minimum temperature. The maximum and minimum temperatures are recorded with the help of a special thermometer called maximum and minimum thermometer. In order to prepare a weather report, the maximum and minimum temperatures reached during a whole day is recorded. We feel cool, comfortable and quite pleasant in an early morning, even in summer. Do you know why? In the early morning, the sun's slanting rays do not heat up the ground and surrounding air to very large extent. The maximum temperature for a particular day is reached sometime in the afternoon. This makes the surroundings very hot and unbearable during the summer. For this reason, we feel miserable in the afternoon during summer. Climate. Climate of a place is defined as the average weather condition of a particular place over a long period of time, say 20 to 30 years or more. Climate varies from place to place. Determining the climate of a place. Meteorologists maintain the record of everyday weather, that is maximum and minimum temperature, humidity and rainfall if any. तो क्लाइमेट क्या होता है? क्लाइमेट होता है किसी भी वेदर, किसी भी जगह की वेदर कंडीशंस को काफी लॉन्ग टाइम स्पैन में रिकॉर्ड करना और उसका एवरेज निकालना ही क्लाइमेट होता है. एवरेज मैक्सिमम एंड मिनिमम टेम्परेचर फॉर अ मंथ इज कैलकुलेटेड बाय एवरेज मैक्सिमम टेम्परेचर, सम ऑफ द डेली मैक्सिमम टेम्परेचर ऑफ द मंथ डिवाइडेड बाय नंबर ऑफ डेज इन अ मंथ. एवरेज मिनिमम टेम्परेचर, sum of the daily minimum temperature of the month divided by number of days in the month. Mean of average temperature of each month is calculated over many years. The long-term average temperature is used for making the climate chart of that place. In this image, you can see a climate chart of Srinagar. इसमें हम श्रीनगर का climate chart देख सकते हैं, जिसमें ये बताया गया है कि हर मंथ में from January to December कितनी बारिश हुई और कितना मैक्सिमम टेम्परेचर रहा और कितना मिनिमम टेम्परेचर रहा. From the given climate charts, we can conclude Srinagar is cold and wet during winter and moderate and wet during summer. Delhi is cold and dry during winter, December to March, hot and dry during April, May, October and November, and hot and humid in June, July and August. Now let's know कि climate और weather के बीच में क्या-क्या differences होते हैं. Weather is applicable to a smaller area, maybe a city or a small group of cities. Climate is applicable to a much larger area, maybe a state or region. Weather describes short-term atmospheric condition of a place. Climate describes the long-term average 25 to 30 years weather conditions of a particular state or region. Weather at a place may change suddenly. Climate changes takes place very slowly over a long period of time. Weather affecting the climate of a place. अब किस तरीके से weather किसी जगह के climate को affect करता है? Climate at any place mostly depends on temperature and precipitation, rainfall, snowfall, hail and mist. The temperature and precipitation at any place depend on several geographical factors described below. Some geographical factors affecting the climate at any place are distance from the sea. The climate of a place is also affected by its distance from the sea. The coastal areas being close to the sea have moderate climate and the weather remains almost unchanged throughout the year. As we move inland away from the sea, the temperature shows drastic changes during the summer and winter. The central parts of the continents are dry and hot in summer and extremely cold in winter. Humidity. The places near the sea are more humid than the places that are far from the sea. For example, Kolkata and Kerala have high humidity, whereas Haryana and Rajasthan have low humidity. Ocean currents. Warm ocean currents make the climate warm and wet. Cool ocean currents make the climate colder and dry. Direction of prevailing winds. The direction of prevailing winds from the sea, ocean side bring rain to the coastal area and dry weather to inland areas. As a result, the climate of the areas near sea is moderate. Altitude or height above the sea level. Climate is affected by the mountains. Mountains receive more rainfall than low-lying areas because the temperature on top of mountain is lower than the temperature at sea level. That is why you often see snow on the top of the mountain all year around. The higher the place is above the sea level, the colder it will be. This happens as altitude increases, air becomes thinner and is able to absorb only a small amount of latitude or distance from the equator. Distance of a place from the equator is represented by the latitude. The equator receives maximum sunlight, the sun rays. The sun rays fall straight on the equator. Therefore, places in the equatorial region and nearby are very warm and have maximum rainfall. As we move away from the equator on either side towards the poles, the angle of sun rays increases, that is, the sun rays become slanting, decreasing the intensity of light and heat. Therefore, distance from the equator determines the climate of a place. Based on the difference in temperature and rainfall, 3 climatic zones have been identified. Torrid zones. These are the hot and humid zones from equator. These zones get direct and straight sun rays throughout the year. These have tropical evergreen forest. Frigid zones. These are the regions around north and south poles. These receive slanting rays of the sun and are very cold. These have grasses, lichens, mosses and small shrubs. El Nino effect. El Nino refers to the irregular warming of surface water in the Pacific. The warmer water pumps energy and moisture into the atmosphere, altering global wind and rainfall patterns. El Nino affects wind and rainfall patterns and has been blamed for droughts and floods in countries around the Pacific Rim. The phenomenon has caused tornadoes in Florida, smog in Indonesia, and forest fires in Brazil. See below. In our country, the monsoon rains are largely influenced by the El Nino effect. Human activities. Many activities of humans which influence climates are: first, large-scale cutting of trees. Trees take up carbon dioxide and produce oxygen during photosynthesis. Large-scale cutting of trees will result in an increased amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. The increased carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has caused an increase in the atmospheric temperature. Industrialization. Heavy industrialization, transportation of goods, etc. consume very large quantities of fossil fuels. The use of fossil fuels is responsible for increased carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, acid rain, and air, water, and soil pollution. Adaptations and climate. Climate is the most important element of the natural environment. The type of organisms and where they are found depends on it. All living organisms have adapted in different ways to climate in which they live. We shall study the effect of climate on the adaptations of animals living in polar regions and in the tropical rainforest. Polar regions constitute the Arctic and the Antarctic regions. Some countries belonging to this region are Greenland, Alaska, Finland, Siberia, and the entire of Antarctica continent. The tropical rainforest, as the name suggests, are the regions in the tropics. India, Malaysia, Indonesia, Brazil, and Kenya are examples of some of the countries where these forests are found. The polar regions. Polar regions are the ice areas around the North Pole and the South Pole. The northern polar regions are called Arctic regions and the southern polar regions are called Antarctic regions. तो polar regions वो regions होते हैं जहां पर sun की rays बहुत कम पड़ती हैं या बिल्कुल नहीं पड़ती हैं और उसकी वजह से polar regions ठंडे होते हैं. तो एक polar region जो कि North Pole पर है वो है Arctic और दूसरा Antarctic जो कि अर्थ के South Pole पे है. The climate of these regions are extremely harsh. These regions are very cold for most part of the year and covered with snow. Animals of these regions have some adaptive features to survive in extreme cold climate. Arctic foxes, Arctic hares, whales, seals, musk, oxen, Arctic birds and polar bears are seen in polar regions. Adaptation of polar bear. The dense fur made of keratin keeps the polar bear warm and dry. The white fur merges with the snowy background and hence protects them from predators. Polar bears have thick layer of fat under their skin called blubber. They are as thick as 11 cm. This provides complete insulation from cold. Ears are short to prevent heat loss. The feet has soft bumps which provide traction on ice and short tough claws grip on the ice. Polar bears are strong swimmers and are known to swim at a speed of 100 km per hour. Their nostril can remain closed underwater for over 2 minutes. They can dive underwater up to the depth of 6 meters to catch fish. Their front paws propel them through water while hind feet act like rudders. Adaptations of penguins. Penguins are flightless birds that live in the Antarctic region, South Polar region of the Earth. Penguins do not have predators in the icy remote region where they live. They eat fish, so they have become very good swimmers. Since they need not to fly to look for food, they have lost their ability to fly. Penguins can live in the extremely cold climate of the polar region due to the following adaptation. Penguin is white in color with black colored feather on its back. The white color merges well with the white surrounding of ice and snow. The black colored feathers on the penguin's back absorb heat from the sun and help it to keep warm during the day. Penguin has thick skin and a layer of fat called blubber below its skin which keeps it warm in extreme cold climate. Penguins huddle together in groups to keep themselves warm. Each group may comprise several thousand penguins. Like polar bears, penguins are also excellent swimmers. They have streamlined body, flipper-like wings and webbed feet for making them good swimmers. Animals के अंदर क्या adaptations होते हैं जो tropical rainforest में रहते हैं? Tropical rainforests are located around the equator. The climate of the tropical rainforest is hot, 15 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius, and humid. This region gets plenty of rainfall. Due to the warmth and humidity, the rainforests support a wide variety of plants and animals. Animals living in rainforest. A large number of animals live in the rainforest. Some typical examples are listed below. Large animals such as Indian elephant, rhinoceros, tigers, leopards, deer, sheep, goats, bears and wild cattle live in tropical rainforest. Small animals such as monkeys, birds, snakes, rodents, frogs, lizards are found in large number in tropical rainforest. Adaptation in feeding habits. तो feeding habits में किस तरह का adaptation होता है? Forest animals face severe competition for food, they have developed several methods for obtaining food. For example, bird's toucan possesses a long, large beak. This helps it to reach the fruit from branches on which it cannot sit. Most forest dwellers are herbivorous because of plenty of vegetation. Adaptation in a living beings के अंदर क्या adaptation होते हैं? Most tropical rainforest animals walk on the land on their 4 feet. Many animals are adapted to live on trees. The animals which live on trees are called arboreal. Monkey, red-eyed frog are arboreal. Monkeys use their arms and legs and even their tails to swing from tree to another. Red-eyed frogs have sticky pads on the tips of their claws. These sticky pads help them climb on the trees. Tech Talk. Digital database forecasting. The traditional forecast process employed by most NMHs involves forecasters producing text-based sensible weather element forecast products, etc. The process is typically schedule-driven, product-oriented, and labor-intensive. Over the last decade, technological advances and scientific breakthroughs have allowed NHMs, hydrometeorological forecast, and warnings to become much more specific and accurate. Birds are also adapted to rest on trees. Adaptation in sense organs. Animals living in tropical rainforests depend on their senses and agility. They have sharp eyesight and are sensitive to hearing. Some typical examples of adaptation in tropical rainforest. Adaptations of some animals living in tropical rainforest are described below. Adaptation in monkeys. Monkeys are well adapted to live on the trees in tropical rainforest. They have long tails for grasping branches. Their hands and feet are such that they can easily hold on the branches of the trees. They have opposable thumb, which allows them to grasp small things. Adaptation in buffalo. The buffalo is well adapted to wet or moist climate. Buffalo's skin is black in color with very little fur. Black bodies absorb more heat, so it cannot tolerate the heat of hot summer days. To avoid this heat, buffaloes prefer wet places and relax in water. Adaptation in chameleon. Chameleon is an arboreal lizard. Its tail is long and prehensile. It has a great gripping power due to its fused fingers in groups of 3 and 2. The eyes are very large and they move in all directions, later adapted for binocular vision. They see in front with their right eye and behind with their left eye. Its tongue is large, sticky and rolled up as a tape inside the mouth. It has the capacity to change its skin color similar to that of the background to hide itself. On finding a suitable prey, the chameleon at once shoots its tongue to catch the prey. The tongue is then rolled up back into the mouth. Adaptation in birds. Birds have the following adaptive features that enable them to fly in the air for a long time. Forelimbs modified into wings for flying. Birds' bats are truly adapted for flying. That is the aerial mode of living. Body is light in weight. Bones with air cavities to make body light. Strong flight muscles provide additional strength for winged flight. Animals of Indian tropical forest. The tropical rainforest of India are found in Western Ghats and Assam. The two typical animals of the Indian tropical rainforest are lion-tailed macaque or beard ape, elephant. Lion-tailed macaque or beard ape. A lion-tailed macaque lives in the rainforest of Western Ghats in South India. Its most outstanding feature is the silver-white mane which surrounds the head from the cheeks down to its chin. This gives this monkey its German name beard ape. The tail is medium, approx 25 cm and is black tufted at the end similar to a lion's tail. It is a good climber. It feeds mainly on fruits, seeds, young leaves, stems, flowers and buds. It also eats insects found under the bark of the trees. Since it is able to get sufficient food on the trees, it rarely comes down on the ground. Elephants. Elephants are adapted to live in dense forests. Their tusks are straight since curved ones might get caught in the branches and vines of the forest. They possess large ears which they flap to create a cooling effect. An elephant's trunk has many picking up food, drinking water and communicating with other elephants. Elephants also make very low-pitched sound that help them to communicate with each other. Moral learnt. Different animals have their own importance in the ecosystem, like polar bears, as they are critical part of the Arctic food chain, keeping both the seal and fish population in check. Without these top predators, the Arctic ecosystem would be thrown out of balance, possibly change permanently. Recapitulation. The temperature, humidity, rainfall, wind speed, etc. are called the elements of weather. Weather forecast is based on data collected by weather balloons, satellite photographs of the cloud formation, etc. The science of the study of weather is called meteorology. Climate of a place is defined as the average weather condition at a particular place over a long period of time. The places near the sea are more humid than the places that are far from the sea. The southern polar regions are called Antarctic region. Thank you class. Let's meet again in the next chapter.